So birthright citizenship is effectively dead? Nope, that's a different thing. You've thought of a different word, a different concept. That is happening, though. The Supreme Court just announced they're taking up Trump's birthright citizenship case. Yeah, I know.
Kind of the arguments that you think will be made from on the Trump administration side here?
From the Trump administration side, they will try to argue. Their chief argument is that the children of undocumented people are not subject to the jurisdiction of U.S. laws. However, the easiest way to explain why that is a tough argument to make is because if you are undocumented or child of an undocumented person, you have to obey the speed limit. If you commit some type of violent crime, you'll be stopped by the police. Obviously, realistically, you are subject to the jurisdiction of American laws, and many of the children of undocumented people have no.
The problem with all legal arguments that surround the issue of birthright citizenship or citizenship in general is that our understanding of citizenship is fundamentally like Hitlerite. The idea that a person could be a permanent resident for 10 years but not a citizen, there's no rational argument for it. You define a line, and it's arbitrary, and then at some point or another, people cross that line or don't. It's not only socially determined. The arbitrarity of the determination is meaningless, right? For another great example, all you have to do to vote in a state election is to live there. You could have moved there yesterday, right? As long as you're registered to vote in the state, you're fine. So you can be in California your whole life, and then at 42 move to, I don't know, Texas, and then be fine to vote in Texas. Just got to register, easy peasy. So why is it then that a person could live in Mexico for 40 years, then move to the US, then not immediately vote? Oh, because then we'd be flooded with immigrants who will, change the electoral course of our... Okay, well, when immigrants come over, they make other decisions that affect our economy and society and culture. And you can do that state to state. It's totally arbitrary. It doesn't make any sense. Unfortunately, that arbitrarity does mean that the Supreme Court has, legal arguments that they can use to move things in Trump's direction. But that has always been the case in democracy, citizen-based since ancient Athens. Yeah, but the line for what a citizen is totally arbitrary, It's completely meaningless. Also, democracy, look, we talk about, Greece being the, origin of democracy. Let's be real here, okay? Democracy as it exists today is nothing like how it existed back then. We're mostly following a set of rules that are based on our imagining of what ancient white people would have valued philosophically, right? A lot of our understanding of democracy kind of stems from that. That's sort of where Citizens United comes from, right? The idea that free commerce is a part of free speech, obviously insanely destructive when applied, as we've seen. But people they'd like to pull it back to these broad, flowery philosophical arguments without actually considering what that looks like in real life. In real life, how much of a difference would it make if immigrants could actually vote? Well, you'd probably have more pro, immigration policy making, or maybe not, right? Look at what Latin people are doing in this country. Who the f knows, man? We don't really know, basically. I'm just saying, the distinction to citizenship has always been kind of arbitrary and dumb.
Connection to any other country because they were brought here at such a young age. So to try and suggest, for example, that a child brought here from China or India.
All we know is that immigration made us the wealthiest empire in human history. Yes, that is true. It is factually, we can't really talk about the empirics of citizenship. We can talk about the fact that immigration has objectively made us enormously strong. Yeah. Also, same with every empire ever. I'm sorry, do you think the Roman Empire got to that size purely based on the might and ingenuity of a tiny group of swarthy, pseudo-white people from Rome? How many Romans, Romans, do you think there were at the height of the Roman Empire? Tiny fraction of the overall population. And they considered all of them citizens. It's just...
whose parents are undocumented is subject to the laws of those countries, that's really a steep challenge.
A steep challenge, uphill battle. I mean, how do you see they're going to play this out? Is he just going to drag this out through the courts then, Raul?
Yes, I think that is part of their strategy to drag it out through the courts, to create a certain amount of confusion, certainly in the immigrant community. We've already seen that because many ordinary Americans, everyday people, they are not following each court decision as it goes along, but they hear talk on the street. You hear things secondhand that now if your citizenship may be in question, now your parents might be investigated. So it does have a chilling effect. Just the fact that we are talking about it and it has become an issue again, that does send a signal, and it has an impact on our immigrant community and their families.
What is your sense of what's happening behind?
Literally anyone could become a Roman citizen by serving in the military and paying tribute to the empire. Yeah, but again, like, also that's arbitrary. Who, by the way, contributes more to the fabric of Roman society? The earnest but poor farmer who spends 40 years toiling the fields and providing grain for the army to eat? Or the wealthy merchant who's part of, like, an annexed territory of Rome, who pays tributes to the empire but does nothing culturally or personally to contribute to it? Again, it's always been bullshit, right? Always, always, always. Want to know more? No, that's okay. I gotta rewatch that. I watched RoboCop recently. Still haven't seen Starship Troopers. Well, the main thing you have to know about it is that it's anti-woke, okay? It's anti-woke. It's red-pilled and it's based. And you can tell that because the humans are the good guys. I'm not reading all this shit. You know what's interesting to me? Have we had any information at all from Justice Roberts since the Trump administration openly defied the 9-0 Supreme Court ruling? Like, has there been any response to that? Because it's pretty obvious when you look at the subtext, right? If the Supreme Court issues a 9-0 ruling against Trump, and Trump responds by, wow, we won bigly, we won that, that was a 9-0 ruling in our favor, we won that, didn't we, folks? It's kind of a way of telling the conservatives on the Supreme Court, like, don't f with us, basically. Like, we'll pretend this time that you were acting in our favor, because we're not going to blow it up over this. But, you know, next time, we'll see. I have no idea how the justices are going to respond to that. In practice, what can they do, right? I mean, I don't know. A win for nothing ever happens? It's the Supreme Court. It's only been a few days. They're not YouTubers. You know, they're not going to come out with Justice Roberts isn't going to come out with my response to the Trump situation, which is crazy, the day after. You know, they're going to write something up, and it's going to sound real fancy. Might be dumb as shit, but it's going to sound real fancy. A read on the possible merits of the case. Again, like, the problem is that I'm pretty sure that the conservative Supreme Court justices could make a legally legitimate argument for ending birthright citizenship. My argument in favor of birthright citizenship isn't that it's constitutional, it's that it's good. It might also be constitutional. It's like Roe v. Wade, you know? Like, the argument for Roe v. Wade was based on, what, the woman's right to privacy or whatever? But I don't really give a shit about, like, the constitutionality of it. I just think it's morally good that abortion be legal. They just have to do this workaround, you know? The Supreme Court is just an engine that turns political arguments into constitutionally justifiable arguments. Or ones that sound like it, at least. Would they make this like omni-true, can go back in the past and change citizenship status, or just after some date? I believe the Trump administration has said they're not interested in denaturalizing everyone who's ever benefited from birthright citizenship, because the logistics of doing that would be monstrous beyond monstrous. That being said, they're probably going to do it anyway. They're probably going to do it like selectively, right? So like they wouldn't, as a general rule, denaturalize people unless you're a liberal who writes for The Guardian or something. Does Trump lie about the Supreme Court voting in favor of him, or is he just stupid and believes it? I think he's stupid and believes it. I genuinely think that he got that information from Stephen Miller in that room with Bukele there. When Bukele was visiting and they were joking about like how funny and epic and red-pilled it is that they're detaining people without trial or whatever. I genuinely think that Trump is just like a doddering old grandpa who's being led around by the nose by other people. And Stephen Miller is 100% one of those people. Have you gone over the possibility of Trump officials being held in contempt of court? Have you gone over my YouTube channel in the past 24 hours? Out of curiosity? That's pretty crazy. This downfall of American democracy situation is crazy. What's with all this femboy sass? You are a porn addict. Person is sarcastic. Bro, you're acting like the femboys in my dojins. You need to go the f outside. All right? That's actually pretty crazy. For me, the metric on this is that I couldn't have constructed you in my mind before you typed that, right? Like if I wanted to make a joke about a guy who would talk like that, I wouldn't have come up with that. You had to supply that to me, okay? You're out of the fence. The situation is crazy.